Whenever someone makes a piece of media surrounding Christianity, or Catholicism in particular, I'm always skeptical. I'm going over that shit with a fine-tooth comb. But I can say, with all certainty, that Knives Out, Wake Up Dead Man, actually nailed it. They really did that. They really did a good job. But maybe not in the way you might think. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies, men, and non-binary friends. Welcome back. Yes, as the title says, I am a former Catholic. I've talked about this a lot on my various channels. I've talked about the hypocrisy of modern Christianity, my own personal grievances with the church, but also the things about being raised in the church that I really resonated with and have kept with me in my adulthood. For those of you who don't know, let me clue you in on my credentials. I was baptized as a baby and I was raised in the church for over 2 decades. I went to mass every Sunday. I did 12 years of CCD, which is basically like Sunday school. It's like weekend school for the church. Like you learn about the faith. I even went to Catholic school for a time. I volunteered at food banks and soup kitchens through my church. I was a part of my church's youth group. I spent my weekends changing the flowers and decorating the church for Advent, Christmas, Lent, and Easter all through high school and most of college. I've taught Sunday school. I have sung in the choir. Not that it's a competition or anything, but just know that I am speaking from a place of authority on this. I've put in the hours with the Almighty. And my mother is still very much involved in the church. She actually came to see this movie with me, and she is someone who is very devout Catholic. 12 years of Catholic school has always been like a diehard Catholic, and she also really loved this movie. So if that gives you an indication, ex-Catholics and current Catholics, the endorsement still stands. But the reason why I bring up my mom, and honestly, if every Christian was like my mother, I would probably still be a part of the church, because the way she raised us and the tenets of the church that she always emphasized were focused on service, community, kindness, and gratitude. So being thankful and grateful for what you have, recognizing the privilege that you have, having a roof over your head, not having to worry about when you're going to have your next meal, having clothes, having supplies for school, being thankful and grateful when so many people have so much less, and in turn, using your privilege to help others, helping people whenever you can, because that's what Jesus called us to do, and committing yourself to service and community, and just be good to people, dang it. Now, of course, there were a lot of other things like shame and guilt, and that took a lot of time to deconstruct, and people in my family, my mother included, are deconstructing that as well. There's a lot of hatred, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of shame, and a lot of guilt in Catholicism in particular. This is then weaponized to enact real harm onto various groups. And both sides of this are addressed very well in this movie, while also being a compelling murder mystery and funny and beautifully shot. Knives Out 3 Wake Up Dead Man was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I think of the 3, this is my personal favorite, but obviously it has a lot of personal meaning to me. But I love all of Rian Johnson's Knives Out movies, so if you enjoy the first 2, you will absolutely enjoy this one. I will say this one is a lot darker than the previous 2, so if that's something that, like, maybe you're not interested in, this may not be your favorite, but it still keeps in the spirit of these movies. I thought this was the next level up, and I honestly can't wait to see the next one. From here on out, it's going to be spoiled, so prepare yourself. My thoughts on the movie as a whole: there is a lot of lead up in this one. I didn't mind it because it's primarily dealing with characters, and character-driven stories are my favorites. Additionally, I do feel like the lead up was used effectively. The tension builds almost continuously in the first part of this movie. The violin in the background, the very tense environment, it keeps you on edge, leaning in, waiting for the next scene, especially with how erratic and chaotic Wix is. But I could see how someone could get impatient. My partner has ADHD and has a really hard time sitting through long movies, so this will probably be one that we watch in chunks. But that's sort of like a general critique. I didn't mind it, but I could see other people maybe not enjoying the very long lead up. I really loved the tension being built up in this first part of the movie. You can feel Jud being surrounded by wolves and the anxiety of like being in his position, even as he tries to still help and comfort them. The other thing I love about this movie is that it functions more like a traditional murder mystery than the other 2, which I personally love. I like that in every single Knives Out movie, we see Benoit Blanc learning from the main character. And this leads to some amount of his humanity being gained back. Benoit Blanc is a very cynical character for very obvious and understandable reasons, but every single main character in these movies embodies some form of hope or humanity that he ends up gaining back. Understanding, patience, grace, bravery. In this one, it is undeniably grace and empathy for those who have sinned and those who are guilty. In the previous 2 movies, the murderer kills because of their greed, because their greed has corrupted them. They are usually seeking money or power killer. However, in this movie, the killer kills because greed has corrupted someone in their life, and they are trying to stop the corruption in their tracks. And then, of course, that leads to more killings, which I guess in a sense, greed is still kind of responsible for the killing, but I like that that's kind of a subversion of the previous two movies. I saw this movie in the theater when it first came out, and as I was watching it, I was like, maybe this isn't a Catholic story, maybe it's an evangelical story. But then they were really leaning into the themes of shame and guilt, and I was like, oh no, that's undeniably Catholic. But the women having different expectations thrust upon them than the men, and or carrying burdens for these terrible men. Mwah. Oh, it was so accurate. Like I know these women. I've known these women. I've been these women. Most of the women are looking for validation, approval, or looking to be embraced by Monsignor Wicks, by the holy man in their life. Vera is clearly seeking validation. Martha wants to be the good little duckling as the steward of the church. Simone only believes she will be healed when she is fully embraced and surrenders herself to her faith. Meanwhile, the men are seeking things like vengeance or power and are using the church to get that. Lee Ross looking to revive his career through the charisma and teachings of another man. Dr. Nat looking for validation and stewing in the hatred he has towards his wife and other women. Side desperately using the church's influence and later his inheritance as Wicks's biological son to springboard his political career. The hypocrisy of these self-righteous men is very much the focus, and Wicks included, shaming his mother publicly and privately for decades, all the while he had an affair and an illegitimate child. It's so good. It's so good. But I also like that these women are incredibly flawed too. Like, they're not perfect. They are victims and they have suffered from actual trauma, but that doesn't excuse their behaviors. They are not these perfect little victims. They're layered. They're complicated. I also love that Jud is flawed himself. He's kind of our Jesus Christ figure, but he is also very flawed. He stumbles and he falters. And there are times where his anger overtakes him, but he always draws back to forgiveness and compassion at his center, as his focus, as his guiding North Star. The characterization in this movie is peak. Like the characters are so strong, especially with the Catholic lens over it. I'm like, yes, I know these people. I've gone to church with these people. And I think that's a good enough segue as any into my thoughts on the actors, their performances, and the characters they portray. Father Jud. Josh O'Connor is so good. I am so glad he's leading this movie. I remember when this was first announced and I was like, oh my God, Josh O'Connor's going to be the lead. I love him. He did not disappoint. He is so talented. I am so glad he's been able to shine in this role. It is truly his best. It's also funny too because he's usually playing like the asshole or the fuck up, but he is so endearing in this role, even in his mistakes. Like, you can't help but love him because he is trying so hard to be good, to do good. One of the first lines he says, I was young, dumb, and full of Christ. And I was like fully expecting him to say young, dumb, and full of cum. And I was like, excuse me? And then he said full of Christ and I like could exhale. But I think that line is kind of perfect because it kind of like puts you on, it's like, what the fuck? But then it also does a good job depicting Jud's innocence. And I think that's all I really need to say about Jud. The character really does speak for himself, but the kindness and the sincerity that Josh O'Connor brings to this role is just so unbelievably endearing. Like, it's just such a treat to watch, especially when you're surrounded by these people who are pretty underhanded and sly and like kind of fucked up. I also want to talk about Bishop Langstrom, who Jeffrey Wright plays at the very beginning. I love him in everything he does. He was wonderful. It was a very small role, but just like ate the girlies up. He's also very warm and funny, and he was a great way to introduce the story and set the scene. He meets Jud where he's at and gives an excitable man with a kind heart some direction. Josh Brolin as Monsignor Wicks. Oh my God, so good, so uncomfortable. I could feel my skin crawl whenever he came on screen and whenever he started speaking. Just really well played by Josh Brolin. I don't know if it's because I remember Josh Brolin as like Thanos, or if he's just that good at playing unsettling characters. But right off the bat, Monsignor Wicks is the most unsettling and uncomfortable character I've seen in a while. And yet he still has this like weird kind of creepy underlying charisma that somehow works. It's very layered and cool. The masturbation confession, also wild, so creepy, so uncomfy. Him shaking Jud's hand afterwards was crazy work, so foul and funny. Martha might be my favorite casting. Glenn Close was fantastic. This is my favorite role she's ever played. I truly don't think anyone else could have played this character as well as she did. Like, the character of Martha is very, very accurate and true to the Catholic Church. Our church lady at the church I had growing up, who did everything, was literally named Martha. I like looked at my mom in the theater when she said her name and like was talking about all the things that she does in the church. I was like, it's literally Martha. It was crazy. She was the perfect church lady, like does everything, very knowledgeable, bitter and judgmental, and makes excuses for the men in her life. Just so incredible, so accurate. Also, the little line about her not knowing what dicks look like, of them painting rocket ships over his sacred resting place, and then Samson and Jud like looking at each other because she doesn't know what like dick drawings look like, is just so good. She's a church girl who go to church and read her Bible. She doesn't know what dick drawings look like. But yet another example of women being burdened with maintaining grace and responsibility and piety while the men in their lives get to basically do whatever the fuck they want. It was just everything. I'm gonna get more into the specific scenes that I loved with her, but I just had to gush about her. I like my favorite casting. So good. Vera Draven. I loved Vera. I'm just gonna say, oh my god, all the women just truly incredible, except for Mila Kunis, but we're gonna get into that. Loved Vera. Kerry Washington is a legend, and you see it on screen, embodying that Catholic eldest daughter to a motherfucking T. Vera referring to Wix and her father as the boys in the first scene that we see with her, despite her being the daughter and much younger than both of them, just peak. So good. Taking on the responsibility that her father and Wix wouldn't, with the expectation that she will be rewarded with praise or salvation. Just delicious. No notes. Samson. Who is the actor who plays Samson? Hold on. Thomas Hayden Church. Sorry, I apparently am lacking any sort of grace as well today. Thomas Hayden Church as Samson. Just a delightful casting. I loved Samson from the beginning. Just the purest, kindest, sweetest character. Him listening to the baseball game during mass and Martha like slapping him on the shoulder. The beginning when he like spanks her, when he spanks the church lady, I was like, oh my goodness, like Samson, so naughty. Oh my god, love so much. And funny enough, as the groundskeeper, he kind of grounds the story. Without him, this would be a fucking horror movie. It would just be Jud navigating this nightmarish realm in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, New York. This would be a decidedly cursed place. But Samson's softness is very necessary and good, and kind of reminds us that there are good people here. Sigh. Sigh. Not understanding that he is not engaging with Republican voters because he's half black is so hilarious to me. It's giving Vivek Ramaswamy when he was listing off all of the conservative issues and he was like, yeah, I just can't connect with them. I don't know what's going on. I was like losing it in my chair. And when he was saying going back to basics was show them something they hate and make them think it will take away something that they love, I was like, oh my god, that's literally the Republican framework. I'm screaming. I've never heard it diluted down so efficiently. Obviously, it like burned me up how after Wix was absent from his life for years, when Wix like welcomed him back, Sai was like, oh, you know what? All is forgiven, even though he treats Vera like shit for basically giving up her life and giving up everything she ever wanted in order to raise him. Like he has no appreciation for Vera or anything that she's done. But with Wix, if you know, all it takes is for him to call Sai his heir, and it's like, you know what, Dad, all's forgiving. I was like the misogyny clock it. It's so sad, but it's so accurate. Dr. Nat, you know what? It's about time we frame this incel shit, these fuckers who just hate women, as being weak and lame and disgusting little maggots. And also perfect casting with how Jeremy Renner has behaved recently. I'm like, you know what? This is great. That scene where he's like defending Wix for shitting on his mother, even though he basically did the exact same thing, just perfectly encapsulated how men will defend each other for their transgressions, but will show vitriol and anger towards women for doing the same thing. It was just so accurate. So good. Lee Ross. I love Andrew Scott and everything that he does, and he does play a really good weirdo. I just wish he was in it more. I wish he had a little bit more screen time. I was a little disappointed because we saw so little of him, but that's just me being selfish and wanting more of Andrew Scott. I don't think his character necessarily needed more like explaining. I think his character kind of just spoke for himself, of this guy who, you know, escaping the woke mind virus and kind of hates his fans and wants to rebrand himself. Like, I think that there isn't a whole lot more left with that. I just wanted to see more Andrew Scott. And when we didn't, I was sort of like, well, okay. Simone, who's the actress who plays Simone? Kaylee Spaney. She was fantastic. I've never seen her in anything, and she was great. I want to look up her IMDb and watch all of her stuff now. She was fantastic. I loved her story. Chronic illness, very real. I can't wait to see her in more things. Her whole character showing how the church exploits the sick, the desperate for monetary gain, very real, very real. And I loved her ending, how it wasn't like she magically was healed. It was like, okay, no, I am going to continue on with my life as best as I can and manage my pain how I can because I deserve to live. I loved that message, because sometimes with disabled characters, the happy ending is that they get healed, which is ooh, that's not the best message. That's not the best message. So I'm glad it was no, she has this mysterious nerve illness. She is going to have to live with that, but also she can still find love and joy in her life. She can find daily bread that sustains her. And I just thought that was so beautiful and was a good message of hope for her at the end. Let's talk about Geraldine. Mila Kunis is bad in this. She does not fit the vibe for this movie. She's written as very quippy, but it's kind of played as sincere, and I think this would have landed better if it had been cast with someone who was better at delivering dry humor. I just think everyone in this movie was so good, and Mila Kunis just simply cannot keep up with this cast. I know Kathryn Hahn was in Glass Onion, but all I was thinking about was oh my god, Kathryn Hahn would absolutely slay this role. Kathryn Hahn would be so good in this role. I mean, other big ones, I think Maya Rudolph would have been awesome, Tig Notaro, Wanda Sykes, Chelsea Peretti. Those are obviously big comedians. I'm sure there's smaller comedians that also would have done a good job, but every time she was on screen, it kind of took me out of it. It wasn't even that she was so recognizable. I was oh, that's Mila Kunis, because I'm I know Josh O'Connor, I know Josh Brolin, I know Daniel Craig. Having big actors on screen, Kerry Washington, having big actors on screen shouldn't limit your enjoyment of the project. It's if they can't actually deliver on the role, that is what takes me out of it. I just need someone who fucking delivers on the role. And in my opinion, Mila Kunis did not deliver on this role and overall weakened the project. That's just my personal opinion. Next, I'm going to go through the story beats that I really liked and any critiques that I have. Opening the setting of the church as really dark and gray and depressing, while Jud is narrating that this is not the true church. Just so good. When he talks about Wicks getting on the pulpit and saying all this heinous shit and pointing people out in the pews, trying to get them to leave, shaming them, hardening the group, binding them with complicity. I think the quote is, "Deep down in the dark, it scratches an itch, and by staying put in that pew, a side is taken. Wick's side." That entire speech, that entire scene hit the nail on the head. They were closing around the necks of Christian fundamentalists with that scene, and I live for it. I live for it. When Jud is having that secret prayer meeting and they're all getting really paranoid because they want to remain loyal to Wicks, also very church person. I have seen shit like that before. It is real. It is not exaggerated. That is seeking validation from the church higher ups and not wanting to think that you have either sidestepped them, betrayed them, whatever. That is a very real thing. And I was oh my god, this is cutting too close to home. When Sai was can I tag you? And Jud was I'd prefer if you didn't. And Sai was I probably will anyway. And Jud was I know. The warm yellow light that we see, I don't know if you guys noticed this in the movie, but periodically when we're in the church, there's warm yellow light and then it is followed by this sort of dark, depressing coldness that we see in this smaller church. We don't see the warm yellow light until after Wicks has died. I didn't notice this until my second watch through because I was specifically looking for it. In the theater, I was just trying to enjoy the movie, but when I watched it back when Netflix put it out, I was looking, I was okay, when exactly does the yellow light come in? So it comes in after Wicks has died, after the wicked has been purged from the church, which I was fierce. And then it also shines behind Benoit Blanc as he enters the church, as Jud is on his knees saying, "Jesus, please help me get through this. Help me find the light. Help me find my way through this." Literally, Benoit Blanc, it's not subtle, but we don't need subtle in Rian Johnson movies. Benoit Blanc comes through and the light is sort of shining behind him when he goes, "Hello, hello, is it here? Is this open?" Whatever. Which makes sense because he is Jud's savior at the end. He is how Jud sort of finds salvation, sheds his guilt, and they are able to find the killer together. And then I loved that really beautiful, soft scene between Jud and Benoit Blanc where Jud is just talking to him and there's no expectation, there's no proselytizing, it's just him having a conversation. And I've met priests like this where they're just people, and that's how they connect with their congregation. Is they don't try to create this air of superiority, this air of self-righteousness. They just talk to people like they're people, and that is I think like just so beautiful, and I think encapsulates not only Jud's character but his style as a priest, and like how he chooses to protect his flock, to be the shepherd. He meets people where they're at. He's not judgmental. He's not trying to instill fear in people. He's trying to meet them where they're at. When he starts asking about Blanc's family and his relationship with religion, how does this all make you feel? He's understanding, he's non-threatening, he's non-judgmental. Even after Blanc like shits on the church, he's like, yeah, I don't believe in any of this, and it's fueled a bunch of wars and violence, and I don't believe any of it. I think it's all bullshit. And Jud just kind of smiles and is like, yeah, like you absolutely feel that way. It's totally fine. Like, it's stories, it's storytelling. Like, but he validates Blanc in his experience. He's a good listener, and he is a good priest. I love the line when he says, yes, it's storytelling, but do these stories convince us of a lie, or do they resonate with something deep inside of us that is profoundly true, that we can't express any other way except storytelling? And when Jud says this, the warm light shines again right behind him, because he feels like a priest again. It's so good. It's so good. Also, I don't really have a place to put this, but I do need to address it. The neck tattoo? Purr, bitch. Purr. Wait, let me get my church lady fan. Hold on. Purr, bitch. I'm loving all the TikTok edits of Jud. Please send them to my Instagram and TikTok. It is linked below. When Jud loses himself after Martha points at him and calls him a false priest, and then Jud like slaps her hand out of his face, and he's like, I shouldn't have done that. I'm immediately going to get this anger out in a healthy way. And then he rushes over to Samson and starts punching the bag. And then after he starts punching, he goes, can I use your bag? I love it. I love that scene. A little bit of flawed Jud, and a little moment where he falters, where he stumbles, but he doesn't want to take that out on other people. He's like, you know what? Nope, that was a bad step. I need to prevent myself from continuing that behavior in the future. Let's remedy this right now. Let's fix it right now. Love him. I love the devil bar. I want to go to this bar as a proper sinner. The only thing that really pissed me off in this movie was how often they talk about how it is the perfect crime, the impossible crime, which seems a little meta, and I don't like that. You don't need to tell us it's an impossible crime because we're seeing you struggle throughout the movie. We know that it's difficult, Benoit, because we see you run around in circles trying to solve it. I don't need you to tell me that it's an impossible crime. That was like ugh, I hate that. I loved when Jud had his little crash out. Benoit freaking Blanc is here. I adore him. You can't not love him. I watched this man play fucking Prince Charles, like the most insufferable man, and I literally could not stop like laughing and smiling at Jud. Like, I cannot say enough about Josh O'Connor. I adore him. Please continue being in things so I can continue enjoying them. Oh, the other meta joke that I fucking hated was when it was Andrew Scott's character saying that the idiot versions of us will end up on Netflix. Shut up. Shut up. We don't need this nod. It takes me out of it. It takes me out of it. Right? It reminds me that this is a production, that this is a Netflix show. I hate it. When Vera finally went off on Wix, revealing that he is the biological father of Sai, no shame for you, right? And calling herself the loyal little idiot. That whole scene, that scene was so fucking fire. Kerry Washington, get your flowers. You deserve them. Wix not experiencing the shame that he has thrust upon others. And then Wix immediately frames it as him being like flawed. Dare I say brave. And Dr. Nat immediately defending him like, we don't know this woman. All women are whores. All women are bitches. And then like Simone is complicit as well. Like, I don't need you to be a saint. I don't need you to be perfect. Like, okay, so he doesn't have to be perfect, but he can be a huge fucking hypocrite. Got it, Simone. Got it. Clocked it. And then Andrew Scott's character saying, we're with you, Monsieur Wix, and literally nothing you say or do is going to change that. Oh my god, it killed me. It was so good. I already talked about this briefly, but Sai embracing his father for doing the bare minimum, but never appreciating what Vera gave up to raise him. And remember when I talked about that warm light? So it begins to fade as Jud gets really locked into the case and focusing more on finding the killer than like being a priest, especially when he is so desperate to get the details out of Louise on the phone for the construction company getting the door off of the tomb. And then we have that incredible scene where Jud like stops what he's doing and he's like, oh my god, what the fuck what the fuck am I doing? This isn't me. I'm a priest. When she asks for him to pray for her, I literally started crying. I was like, oof, that hit me in my gut. And she starts talking about her mom. That really got me teared up. When he just starts talking to her and he goes, what's your mother's name? I was like losing it. Oh man. Oh, I'm getting teared up just thinking about it. It was so good. But the reason I bring this up, because one, that was an awesome scene. But two, when we cut back to Jud giving a prayer to Louise, we see that warm yellow light in the window again. That scene outside of the tomb, when we're looking at the tomb, the whole time I was watching, I was like, no way are they gonna do it. No fucking way. No fucking way are they gonna do it. No goddamn way. And then they fucking did it. And then Jud rushes to the person holding the lantern because he thinks it's Sam. He thinks it's Sam because he wanted to save Sam. Oh my God. Then the whole movie ramps up again. We were in a little lull, but by the second murder, fuck, I am locked in, bitch. I am locked in. When Geraldine says the groundskeeper is dead and it cuts to Martha and she is sobbing, screaming. Oof, bitch. Glenn Close, come get your Oscar, mama. Come get it. When she looks straight down the camera and she goes, flee into the dark, you murderer. But he brings vengeance. He brings death. Oh my God, I'm fleeing for my life. I'm running out of that theater. That sent a shiver up my spine. I know Nat is an incel piece of shit, but I did love the moths and butterflies on the wall. That was adorable. I want that. Blanc knowing that Jud isn't guilty and ushering him out of the police station before he has the opportunity to confess. He was like, shut the fuck up, you idiot. The cops don't know shit. And I know everything. So move. I know your shame and guilt is overwhelming you. Please, for the love of God, get out of here. Blanc listening to show tunes. Yes, correct, accurate. Getting to Nat's house. The suspense of draining the tub and revealing that it's Nat after focusing on the ring for the entire movie of him twisting the ring of those very deliberate shots and then focusing on the hand and showing the ring. And then when everybody's like talking over each other and Blanc needs everybody to shut up, so he just takes the figurehead role of standing on the pulpit and just yelling while the sheeple sit down in the pews. Very, very good. Very, very good. So earlier on, when Blanc is trying to prevent Jud from confessing because he knows he didn't do it, Jud says, I have to do it of my own free will or it won't mean anything. Meaning he has to confess his sins. He has to confess for what he's done, because if they grab him based on evidence, then it won't mean anything. That confession won't mean anything, which is why later Blanc gives Martha the opportunity to confess too, as a Catholic, to confess her sins. I love this little detail, and back to what I said earlier, very much shows how the protagonist has influenced Benoit Blanc over the course of this movie. Benoit Blanc doesn't give a shit about Christianity or religion, but by the end he has a little bit more respect for what religion means to other people and the purpose that it holds in their lives and the importance that it holds in their lives and how it can be utilized for good. I just love that. I love that little tidbit. I thought the initial reveal was great, where Benoit Blanc is going through all the different steps of the murder, and then he stops himself. And when he stops himself, because again, he wants to give Martha the opportunity to confess, but all these people are standing there, he stops himself, he gives grace to the sinner, to those who are guilty, and the golden light shines on Blanc. You thought I was done with the light? You thought I was done with the light? Bitch, I'm coming back to it. I'm coming back around. Then he, of course, explains, giving Martha the chance to confess. So he pretends like he can't solve it to give grace for my enemy. And while the men in the story are sort of capitalizing off of this opportunity, with Cy going to the news stations, talking about how Benoit Blanc failed to solve this case and promoting his YouTube channel, Andrew Scott running off to call his publisher, and in very churchly fashion, the women are left picking up the pieces. The final reveal with Glenn Close. So good. She is such a legend. Fuck. The Grace reveal was really good too. I was wondering at the beginning what they were going to do with this, because it seemed very out of the style of these movies to frame her in that way. I do respect Martha for sticking to her beliefs and going against the Monsignor. And then Jud during her confession, where he just tells her like, keep going, I'm here, it's okay. Oh my God. And then she starts talking about Samson, and we cut back to that scene where he's like, anything for my angel. I'm sick, dude. Oh my God, I'm sick. My sweet Samson. So tragic. I also, fun little detail, I like that Eve's apple tempted a man. A weak, insecure man. When Martha switched the poison cups, bitch, I went bananas in that theater when she found out that he killed Samson. and she just like let his ass fall down the stairs. It just gets better and better. And at the end, Eve's apple goes to the priest with a complicated past, but pure of heart. Oh my god, I love this fucking movie. I really liked everybody's ending too, especially Simone's. I know we talked about it briefly when I introduced her character. And the changing of the church from Our Lady of Perpetual Fortitude to Perpetual Grace was a beautiful touch, along with the gem being lodged in the heart of Jesus on the cross. That's some real Catholic shit. This movie was so good. What I love about this movie is that it shows what the church could be as an institution without idealizing it. If we stop idealizing the church, this is what it could be. If we address the true systemic issues that we have with the church, this is what it could be. It shows the corruption and the hate that can fester if left unchecked. It addresses some of the fundamental issues people have with the Bible, the patriarchal and misogynistic culture that the church can and does perpetuate. And as a former Catholic, I have seen how the church has stifled younger, more empathetic, more gracious, more Christ-like voices, like Jud's, in favor of more traditional, hateful, abusive, and self-righteous ones like Wick's. It painted a compassionate look on the church without fucking glazing it, without denying or ignoring the problems associated with it. This movie has arguably done more for the church than any lame-ass God is dead or God is not dead. What are those? I don't even remember the name of those fucking movies. You know which ones I'm talking about. Wake Up Dead Man is better PR for the church than any of those fucking movies. This movie pulls out for me the best and the worst parts of being a Catholic. And to me, that was very powerful and very personal. There's an article by Leah Schnellbach that dives deeper into the imagery and the themes and the cinematography of this movie. I have it linked in the description. It's really well done. It is very long, but if you're a movie nerd like me, you're gonna love it. But I wanted to read her closing because I feel like she sums this up better than I ever could. This is why Wake Up Dead Man is actually important. It allows enough space for that phone call to play out the way it should. It allows for Jud to address Jesus the way he would, and to talk about Christ's love, even if it makes people uncomfortable, in the same film where Blanc declares God is a fiction. It allows us to see just how filled with rage and pain Wicks and his followers are, but it doesn't let them off the hook because of trauma. It shows the importance of actual remorse and repentance, the need to draw a line in the sand with people who think the empire were the good guys, the need to create space for both devout Catholics and those who worship at the altar of the rational. To be able to end with a scene where the believer and the proud heretic share a hug, but one can offer a good faith invitation to Mass and the other can cheerfully reply with, quote, "There's nothing I'd rather not do," and they still love each other. Where the concept of grace can be explored in both the deeply religious and the utterly secular sense, and no one has to check their brain or their soul at the door. As always, I have Rwan's GoFundMe linked below. She was supposed to attend university this year, but Israel bombed her home and her school out of existence. If you'd like to donate but don't have the funds to do so, you can check out my D&D campaign for Palestine, Westerly Academy, where all the ad revenue goes directly to Palestinian families, so by literally watching D&D, you are helping the people of Palestine. Oh, quick announcement. I am in a video game. I have it linked in the description below. You can meet my character Jane, the Crying Widow, by going to the sheriff's office in this game, Love and Fool's Gold. It is a Wild West dating sim with an eldritch horror subplot and an air of mystery about it. It's really good. It's really fun. I also have the live stream of me playing through on my other channel. I will also have that linked below. Make sure to check it out. As always, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Bye. Very special thank you to Bagel's dad, Derek, Anonymous, Tiny Axes, and Robin Fellows.